What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Off the Deep End Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Eddie, and today we're going to be talking with my brother Jeff from over at Kindred Jiujitsu. He's going to be someone who's directly contributing to my growth, my knowledge every single day as I learn, trying to be a humble student, trying to be receptive of all the lessons and experience that everyone around me has over there at Kindred. And something I'm super excited about is the fact that his entire family is involved in jiu-jitsu, all the way down to the kids, and I absolutely adore that. I think it's such a powerful thing that when you can do something as a family, it really kind of brings out the best in every single one of you as you grow together, as you fail together, as you succeed together. So I'm super excited to share and listen and talk about his journey for a multitude of reasons. So thank you so much for tapping in. Today we're going to get straight into the conversation about his jiu-jitsu journey.
Are you thinking about making a podcast? Spotify has a platform that lets you make one, and if I can figure it out, you definitely can too. You can create your own content all in one place for free with zero hangups and even earn money as soon as you get started. Spotify lets you record and edit episodes from your phone or computer so you can go mobile, just like I enjoy to do. My favorite thing about it is that you can create video episodes if you wish and upload them to wherever podcasts are heard. You can even set up subscriptions, or if you're like me, listener support options for listeners to help you grow. I 10 out of 10 recommend the Spotify for Podcasters app. Or, why don't you just step over to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started on your own podcast.
All right. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate your time, man.
You're welcome. I appreciate it. This is going to be my first podcast. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, brother. So where did it all begin? Take me back to you as a child. What was it like growing up?
Oh, man. As a kid. So I was an Army brat for a little bit. My father was in the military, so lived in Germany from the age of, I think it was 5 to 8. That's where I got the scar on my face. Maybe we'll talk about that later. Maybe we won't. But came back probably 4th grade, lived in Lacey, Washington from about 4th grade until I was 19. And when I was 19, I moved up north to Seattle to go to ITT Technical Institute when it was around.
Smart people stuff, huh?
Yeah, well, I thought so. So I was I was the kid that if you told me I couldn't do something, I was going to do it, right? Sounds cliche, but when I was in high school, I wanted to take an electronics class. And the teacher, when on the first day there, he's like, "Hey Jeff, I want to talk to you after class." And then I went in there, and he was like, "I don't think this is the class for you. I don't think your grades are you don't have the appropriate math and stuff." So I was like, okay. When I graduated, I was still into electronics. I was I was very hands-on because of my dad, like to take stuff apart, put stuff back together.
Mm-hmm.
He was a race car driver, so he taught us how to use tools and all that.
Awesome.
And so I went to ITT Tech, and that's actually where I met my wife, Jenny, about back in 1999.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I've been with her ever since. Spent some time in Guam, tried to leave the States for a little while, go to Guam, experience that island life. Came back in 2000. So it's been a, I've been grateful, but it's been a good ride. Not a lot of hiccups in my life, so I'm fortunate.
Awesome. So what was it like growing up in a different country? I've been able to travel with the military and with just over the course of my life. We went on a family vacation back right before Rona happened, like at the pinnacle of 2020. In the very beginning, on the 7th, we arrived in Mazatlan. I wouldn't go there right now, but it was really nice when we were there. We were staying right down the street from El Chapo's son, and the cartel controlled the area, so it was very peaceful for tourists, surprisingly. What was it like in Germany? Because I think about a couple of things. I think about beer.
Oh yeah.
I think about chocolate, and I think about cultural differences from America.
So we lived right off the base, so in base housing. So my memories of Germany was going in like the downtown areas, like I think it was Heilbronn, walking around the streets. Got a memory there where I got lost. I was the wanderer, so I walked away from my parents. So nobody could speak English. But we had the talk back then, sit down, don't wander away. So I found a public spot to sit until I was found. My mother will tell me I should never go back because in the 3 years that we were there, I broke my back. I back then the apartments were all in like, single hot water heater. So
Mhm.
if somebody flushed a toilet anywhere in the building, so I got a scolding burn on my leg.
Oh,
And I guess I got in a fight when I was 8, and a kid pinned me against a wall and cut my face open. So
Oh, man.
from above my eye to my mouth, completely split open. Had to get 36 stitches at the military hospital. Um, that's all I remember.
Yeah.
I'm sure I could speak a little bit of German back then, but I don't remember any of it now besides, the cuss words.
I think those are the important parts, right? Oh, man. I can't imagine getting, well, I can't imagine being attacked, but not at that age by somebody, by just another kid in that form. What did that do to your mindset at a young age? Did it make you more aware? Did it make you more attentive?
I don't think so. I think I was just a dumb kid. I have It's one of my most vivid memories as a kid. I mean, I know that we were playing wall ball.
Mm-hmm. Great
I know
game.
we were the color. I think the apartments was like this faded yellow. Where I remember him pinning me against the wall and holding my hands there, and he bent down and he picked up like a broken beer bottle when he cut me in the face. Walking back to the apartment I lived in where my babysitter was at, and the couple's holding the door open. It's one of the few vivid memories I have of that age. But I don't think it messed with me too hard. Like I wasn't too afraid of people after that. I wasn't too timid. When I came back to the States, you have your typical bullying problems. I was bullied 3 or 4 times, and you get a couple of scraps as a kid, right?
Oh yeah.
But it didn't really. I don't think it traumatized me too much.
Good.
I will say, so I have a twin brother, and it kept us apart because, I was the one that had the scar on my face. So when people got to meet us, they would always, get to know us. They'd always look for which one had the scar on the face. Even so much as a few years at T-Mobile, somebody came up to me and was like, "Dude, your scar is badass," right? So it became a part of my identity that I favored. I don't mind having it.
Yeah.
So I don't think I got traumatized from it at all.
Good.
I've grown to appreciate it. So
excellent. I think our scars, every scar has a story. I look
Absolutely.
at my knees and my hands, and my hands are usually from fighting, but my knees are all torn up from all the times that I've fallen. I think one of the worst falls I ever had was down the slope in the Seattle Center in the water park that all the kids used to play back in the 90s. We used to play in there. So I remember getting I got pushed or tripped or something, and I ate shit all the way down and slid down it. Oh man, yeah. Every scar has a story.
I remember all mine too. Yeah, I was always good talking points. I'm always like to get together and start sharing scars, right?
Oh
I
yeah.
got this one here, got this one there. So
100%. It reminds me of Tim Kennedy's book that he released I think just last year, Scars and Stripes. It's one of the most impactful books I've ever had the pleasure of reading and listening to, because you'll be able to hear him narrate his own thing and it's all written in first person perspective. So it's a very immersive book, very impactful, because it talks about volunteering to pull people out of Afghanistan, and it talks about what it was like when the bombs were going off over there. It talked about his time serving on special forces units, and it talks about him being a special forces sniper, all the things he's done. Talked about why he started Sheepdog Response, why he finds great people like our friend Kyle, our mutual acquaintance from me on my end, but your friend. But he talks about all the things, and I really love it. It was such a great book to listen to. After reading it, I read it first and then I listened to it. So that's one of the main things that stand out to me is the scars. He talks about his scars in the books and how behind every scar is a story. So I really find that something that can tie into kind of how you feel about your scars as well, and mine too. What drove you to kind of pursue martial arts? Was it always something you were passionate about? Did you?
Oh no.
Was it a movie? What was it?
No. Well, I mean, there's Karate Kid. I mean, there's a lot of movies. I mean, that I liked growing up, but it wasn't really like the martial arts movies. Like what's The Last Dragon with Bruce Leroy? That's one of my favorite movies. I was, when I was a kid, my dad tried to get me into martial arts too. He did some sort of, I think it was like a Korean kung fu, and I quit because I couldn't do a cartwheel. Right, I had real low self confidence. Really, just it was when I was a child, it was pretend I was confident, but I would always hold back. Like I wouldn't be the guy in the middle doing stuff because I was too cool for school because I didn't want to risk embarrassing myself.
I can resonate with that as well.
The reason why I started martial arts is really because of my kids. I wanted to do something with them. My wife and I always talked about this, even when she was pregnant with our first. We didn't want to be the parents that were taking them to sporting events and just being sideline parents. So we originally started Aikido 12 years ago, and I got my brown belt in Aikido with my oldest son Ethan, and my niece EJ. She became a blue belt, but Ethan kind of got bored with it because it started to feel a little repetitive to him. And there was what we call one-step techniques, where somebody would attack, you would counter, perform the technique of the day, they would fall down, they would stand back up, and you'd repeat it. But it was always the same process. And
like redundancy.
Yeah, the randori practice where they would, it was more of a freestyle Aikido where they would attack and you would still, counter, throw, repeat. He just didn't like it. Just didn't really interest him anymore. And we have a family that owns a local school here in Washington State. We also, my wife being from Guam, Islanders, fighting is in their blood, right? And the whole time I was doing Aikido, they're like, Jeff, you gotta stop doing Aikido. You gotta do Jiu-Jitsu. And for me, I was like, no, I don't want to. So like I was being stubborn. But when Ethan lost interest, we needed something else to do. So at that time, Damien was a little older. I think Damien was 4 and Ethan was 6 at this time. And so we went to Gracie Baja Edmonds at the time, and they were hooked immediately from the first day. They were playing, they were roughhousing with their friends, and they were just wrestling a lot, and they loved it. And that's what I got out of it when I started training, right? Like as soon as, from my experience in the Jiu-Jitsu Academy from Gracie Baja to the way we do it in Edmonds, as long as you're safe and we can create a scenario where you can spar, we don't hold you back. We let you start sparring right away, right? So long as there's certain rules that we're working through. So immediately I felt like I was wrestling with my brothers, and I have 2 brothers, so it really, attracted me. The first week I was there, I was a meathead. Sorry, weightlifters. But I had a over a 300-pound bench press. I had a 505-pound deadlift, and I was feeling really good about myself, and I was thinking I was going to be all right. And it's kind of cliche, but I got choked out by a woman. Right, got me in a triangle choke.
That's it.
Didn't know what to do. Started to go black. Good thing they explained tapping, and I was like, this is interesting. So that's what hooked me. I was like, okay, if she can do this to me, once I get efficient at it, then I can trust that I'm going to be safe if something happens and I fall to the ground, right? And from my experience, the altercations I've been in, it's always been a wrestling match on the ground. I've never, luckily, probably had to get in a fight with somebody who was an excellent kickboxer. It was always just tackle the person, fall to the ground, and wrestle. So
that's good. I think that in this day and age, altercations, any fight is not going to be 2-dimensional anymore. Everybody has to, if you're going to be proficient in anything, you need something that's going to help you become 3-dimensional, especially fighting on the ground. You're not just dealing with somebody who is throwing fists, because if you throw your fist, you can't work. Like it's hard. Once you break your hand, it's hard to operate your car or open doors or, turning wrenches.
Yeah.
So knowing that my hands have had major issue. I've had broken, plates in my hand, and growing up shattered everything, and broken knuckles and all the things. I don't want to completely disable my own self through fighting with my fist, because I'm sure that everybody knows we're not going to live forever.
Yeah.
And every gunfight you're not in, you win, and every fist fight you're not in, you win. And diffusing something by putting someone in a triangle or running a choke or just picking them up and hitting them with the world even can really, really set somebody away from wanting to punch you again.
Yeah, no, I don't have any like illusions of grandeur. I mean, like if I'm absolutely going to avoid a fight at all costs now.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not so bold to say that jiu-jitsu is the solve all when you get in a fight. I avoid all those conversations with people because I think they're mostly pointless.
Mm.
Right? Everybody can invent a scenario where you can win or lose a fight. But I do believe that if I have to study one martial art for multiple reasons, right, that it's going to be jiu-jitsu for me and my family. My niece, when she first came here, she's lived with us, off and on since she was 12, but she came back after high school and she's going to college. And jiu-jitsu for her and for me was the fact that I believe for a college-age woman, the biggest threat that she's going to experience is somebody trying to hold her on the ground for evil purposes.
Yes.
So as soon as she was in jiu-jitsu, it gave me the confidence to trust that when she's out and about, that at least if somebody tries to hold her down, she's going to give them hell.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And then, so that's why I wanted her in jiu-jitsu, but luckily she got hooked too.
Yes. Yes. And I think it's really great when you're able to pursue something as a family, because you're not just watching your friends or somebody you go to the same class at. Oh, you're the 8:30 timers. Oh, yes, I know you from there. You're watching somebody that you care about, you love, that you create time with on Christmas and holidays. You have something tying you more than just the time slot you show up.
Yeah,
and I think it's very beautiful.
Yeah, I'm blessed. My youngest is a yellow belt. He'll get his orange belt sometime this year. My oldest, he just got his orange belt on Saturday, and that was a big sob story. Couldn't hold that in. My niece is a purple belt. My wife is a purple belt. My wife and I both coach, every week at our gym in Kindred. So I think sharing it as a family, I couldn't be more blessed to be able to share something in common. And we all have something that we do that we want to do. My youngest, he still wants to skip class from time to time. My oldest, I can't keep him off the mat, right? So I'm lucky.
I watched a couple of videos today of him just slamming people on the ground. Just as soon as that one of the first leg.
Throw Alfie?
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that was the one.
Good.
Yeah, I'm still learning everybody's names because I'm really bad with names.
The shorter coach, the less tall coach. Sorry, Alfie, you're not short. You're just not as tall.
Black hair.
Yep.
Oh yeah. That was beautiful.
Yeah,
that was exactly what I wanted to see. I was looking for to be able to see some of your son's skills.
Yeah.
But beautiful job slamming somebody.
And with Ethan too, it's really special because and this kind of leads to why I like coaching kids more than anything. Why I'm so passionate about it. When we first started, when we were at Gracie Baja Edmonds, it took us over a month to get him on the mat. He's so shy. He doesn't like team sports. He was the kid that wouldn't make eye contact, wouldn't talk to anybody, right? And that was 12 years. Sorry, not 12 years. 12 years total, but that was 8 years ago. And now if somebody comes up, he makes eye contact. He's a leader on the mat. He helps coach the classes. You see this sense of true self-confidence, not that, fake it till you make it stuff that I was referencing of what I was a teenager. So it's a beautiful thing for me to see like confidence in him that has developed through jiu-jitsu. He just last week, something that I would never have done in high school, he gave a presentation in front of his whole class. Those are the days that I called out sick or I skipped school because I wasn't going to look stupid in front of my classmates. But he nailed it. Didn't bother him one bit. So, I really believe that martial arts in general, if taught appropriately, will develop a real self-confidence in a person. It's affected me too. At work, before I started training, I was still timid. I still wouldn't do presentations. I was still that false bravado, lack of self-confidence guy that I was when I was a kid in high school. But jiu-jitsu's developed this in me too, right? To be able to lead a class, to becoming, co-owners at the academy. I mean, it's created this beautiful lane for me to go in that I've seen developed myself. It's developed my family, and I see it all the time at the academy with other people that join too. So
I think that's awesome. I would say that that maybe your son found out his identity through jiu-jitsu.
Absolutely. So did I. So did my wife. So did my niece. So did my niece's boyfriend. He started training. He's a blue belt now.
Oh, I was like, finally another white belt I can link up with. Yeah, I have a bunch of friends who are starting jiu-jitsu across the nation right now.
Yeah.
That I've been talking to for a while about Jiu-Jitsu January, and I really wanted to nail it. I didn't realize that I was going to get such a major setback from tearing my shoulder, but today I had one of my last doctor appointments about it. They said that it was one I tore my ligament, and I also tore a partial, almost tore all the way through a tendon. So both of those coming back together without any surgery. I'm still feeling a little bit of pain, but I'm stronger than almost ever. It's almost stronger than ever. I'm back to doing power cleans, shoulder presses, bench press, anything I can do.
One of the most beautiful things about jiu-jitsu too is, I mean, they have that cliche phrase, jiu-jitsu is for everyone, right? Mm-hmm. It's not for everyone, but if you stick with it, there's always a way to train around an injury or a limitation. Mm-hmm. I like to compete, so sometimes I've gotten a little rough, and I've had several injuries in jiu-jitsu. But when I come back from surgeries, I'm able to like put red tape on it, for example, and that basically means leave it alone. So my gym mates know when they see red tape, red means stop, so they don't attack that side of my arm. If I have an arm problem and I can't wrestle up, I can play my bottom guard. Knee problems and I can't stand, I can play my bottom guard. So there's always an avenue to train safely, so long as you're open and honest with yourself and your teammates. Okay. That's why I say it's got to be at the right gym. You got to have our gym's very ego-friendly, ego-free. There's not a lot of people out there just going to Kindred to learn how to kick somebody's ass. I can't think of anybody at our gym that's that way.
Awesome.
We got a lot of over 40s, right? So somebody's always got a back problem, a neck problem. Got a good old man jiu-jitsu squad, so we take care of each other. And if we have a rib injury, I've fractured my ribs before, so I can't play a bottom game. So I get on and I play my like top side control. So it's great as long as you're open and honest and communicative with your teammates. There's always a way you can train in jiu-jitsu.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I look forward to experiencing that, because going through different things with the military, we joke around. We definitely get in a lot of fights, just messing around and dragging people across the ground, picking them up, slamming them as hard as we can on the floor, smashing them into lockers, everything you can think of. And the boots into ribs are definitely something I've experienced a lot of. So, yeah, over the years, and I really look forward to being able to pursue something that will help me find out who I want to be in the future as well. Because going through martial arts as a child, doing Taekwondo in my Cotillo YMCA with 88 Taekwondo, I knew it wasn't it for me. And then because I just left karate because it wasn't it for me, with Master Pierson up here on Linwood on Highway 99, right across from the cop shop. And then just messing around at US Fitness in San Diego, California, I got to jump in with some Muay Thai classes and mess around a little bit with jiu-jitsu, and the instructors would look at me and laugh, and they'd come and teach me this, that, and there, and then I'd go back to the ship, and I'd be wrestling with my guys again and smashing each other into the walls. And there was no structure, there was no discipline. And with structure, discipline, and a team that wants to support you in any venture that you're looking forward to, that is where you find the most success. And that's something that can be applied to anything. With bodybuilding, I lived a very disciplined lifestyle. I would eat the same food year round. I would show up and win the show and leave. There was no team. There's a kind of a team, but you're all competing against each other in a sense. And I think that every different sport has its greatnesses and weaknesses. So I'm not sure when I'll be competing with my shoulder, but I'll tell you what, I'm so excited to get started. I've wanted to do it for a very long time, since about 2020, but everyone was shutting down. And then I got injured right before I was supposed to sign up last year.
I think you'll like it. I love it a lot. Like it's humbling in some ways. Mm-hmm. Especially when you start, all you're doing is getting, submitted. If you come in uber aggressive, you'll get a little bit of heat from some of the higher ranked students, but it's always in a safe way. But you might end up getting some rough rolls. I'm not saying you're that way, but the people that do come in that way, right?
Oh yes.
But there's always, even, I say at a brown belt, there's plenty of people at school that kick my ass still. Kyle's phenomenal at jiu-jitsu. I feel like just a big idiot every time I roll with him. It's very frustrating, but it's challenging, and I'm always looking for sneaky ways to try to get him. But there's people out there that make Kyle look like a white belt. Mm-hmm. unless you're Gordon Ryan or a world champion, there's people out there that are going to always remind you that you're not the baddest guy on the block. And I think it's something that helps if you can develop that attitude in life. That's part of what makes people grow in martial arts, or especially jiu-jitsu.
So humility is a foundational characteristic, or it is the foundation of jiu-jitsu.
If you want to have longevity in jiu-jitsu, you definitely need that humility. You
Mhm.
definitely because if you don't, it's going to get given to you anyways in an aspect that you can't beat everybody. You have to let that go. There's even if you're the baddest guy at your gym, you go to the next gym down the street, and there's going to be probably somebody around that can beat you. So I wouldn't say it gets beaten out of you, because I do think it's a safe martial art when you're training with your teammates, but you get reminded of it in a safe way. But you lose on a regular basis. I tell all my students, jiu-jitsu makes you a better loser before it ever makes you a winner. You have to get used to losing. And I preach that to my kids daily, right? When they first get on the mat, they have the same problem. They cry when they lose games. They cry when they lose sparring, and we create games that mimic sparring, and they cry when they lose that. And the kids that are most successful, they will cry a few times, but then it just becomes repetitive. And I remind them, losing is not a bad thing. There's a winner and a loser in everything, right? There's a winner and a loser when you apply for a job. There's a winner and loser in sports, so if you get used to losing, you're going to enjoy jiu-jitsu much more, but you're going to grow a lot more from it too.
Absolutely. I can understand that as well. I think that from the outside looking in, it's easy to see people who get frustrated on the mats. I got to watch in person over the years as people will be traveling from different gyms, get frustrated, trade some words, and then out of nowhere, the professor walks up and says, "All right, clear the mat. Go ahead, do what you got to do."
Yeah.
And then they get really, really embarrassed because they let their emotions take over. I think that watching some of these bouts, something that stands out to me is that it is a chess game. It's about tactics. It's not about necessarily strength or size. It is about stamina. It is not about how violent you can be picking somebody up and slam them on the ground. It's not just like any normal MMA fight you see.
It's definitely a thinking man's martial art, from the aspect you're not trying to meet their direct force by pushing back on them equally as hard. That works sometimes when you're rolling with smaller people, but doesn't work when you're rolling with bigger people. So you're really trying to work your angles and set up your submissions by causing misdirection. So it's definitely something that you'll learn as you train. And as far as losing temper and getting angry, there's the other cliche that I talk to my class about, is about being uncomfortable, or being comfortable being uncomfortable, right? And what I tell our kids and our students is, it's not necessarily physical discomfort. You can be uncomfortable in any situation, right? So if you can get used to being in a situation that you don't like, whether it's I'll use work again as an example. Like I said, I used to be afraid of giving presentations. I still am. But I take a deep breath. I understand that I'm well prepared, and I go in and I give it my best, and whatever happens, happens. Same thing on the jiu-jitsu mat. If you're physically in pain, I'd recommend tapping. But if you're if you're uncomfortable, then you take a deep breath. You have to calm your mind so you can try to analyze what's going on and make an appropriate counter movement to their movement, so you can try to escape whatever submission or whatever guard they're playing on you. So it definitely, if you can control your anger and your emotions, you're going to be able to think much more clearly. So I think it's a big aspect of it is staying calm. And I think that's I was lecturing I have a competition class, because we got, jiu-jitsu competitions, and I love coaching now. I was teaching my kids about that. And I was just telling them, I was like, take that deep breath, just be comfortable with where you're at, and guarantee that you're going to have a much more successful opportunity to either escape or at least get out of the match safely. So
100%. So it's no secret that I'm starting this Saturday is probably my first session. I'm just going to show up. I'm going to hopefully I get somebody like you to sit down with me and be like, all right,
I'll be there.
Don't be an idiot. Bow before you step on the mats. or you're gonna get slammed in the wall.
Oh, only rule we got really, man, just don't go in the bathroom barefoot.
Okay. Oh no. You learn that in the military. I promise you. You do not want to. Some people's feet, they turn green and all sorts of colors. It's a mess.
Yeah.
Not me. So I'm gonna be a white belt walking in, no experience whatsoever. What is the first? What do I need to know? What do you wish you knew when you were a white belt, and what is it like being a white belt? Tell me all about the white belt.
Just don't put any unrealistic expectations on yourself that you're going to be good at anything. Like, don't put that pressure on yourself. You're going to be a brick with stick arms and stick legs. Everything's going to feel unnatural, right? The first time I tried a shrimp, I was so confused. And there's dead bugs that we use. Like, your body isn't used to moving in a fluid environment like a jiu-jitsu scramble. And what I see in most social media pages, most blogs, is, people put pressure on themselves. Why can't I get this move down? Why aren't I getting submissions? At white belt, you're not supposed to do that. You're just supposed to go in. You're supposed to rep out the moves that your professor or your coach is teaching you. And they understand that you're not going to be able to do it either. So they're there to help you do these moves day in and day out until your body starts to understand. And it's really more of a feel, right? Until that muscle memory will start kicking in. I usually tell people, give it 6 months. You're going to be just a complete imbecile on the mat for the first 6 months, unless you're a collegiate wrestler or something, right? And they have their own problems too, because when it gets to the ground, then things change, right? But just let go of the pressure. I did the same thing. I was frustrated. Right? Like I mentioned earlier, I got choked out by a woman. I thought it was cool, but at the same time, it was frustrating, right? And then I'm a big guy. I was 280 pounds at the time, and I couldn't hold people smaller than me down. I couldn't pass their frames because they were using their structure and their skeletal system as opposed to just trying to bench press me off them. I was looking for people that would do that, but it's just let it go. Just come in, enjoy the environment. Don't put any pressure on yourself to get rank. It's funny. I would say that, when I was a white belt, blue belt, purple belt, I got so annoyed by brown and black belts saying it's not about the rank. Just forget about it. But it's not that we don't think and we don't respect our rank or your rank. That's not the objective when you're rolling. Your objective is to utilize jiu-jitsu and have fun with it. Everything else will come by happenstance. As long as you're showing up on the mat and you have a good frame of mind and you don't worry about being good, you're gonna learn. And that's what's gonna prevent you from having injuries also. I know the times that I've been hurt, it's because I'm trying to fight out of a submission. I've had a couple of freak accidents. Somebody kneed me in the hand and I had a complete break in my hand. Yeah. So there are the freak accidents, but the other injuries I've had is because I've been training for a competition. I've been more stubborn. I feel like, that I was fighting out of the submission more than I should. So even if I could talk to my younger self, I'd be like, man, you got to let it go. Just stop caring so damn much about your rank amongst your jiu-jitsu peers and go in there and enjoy the camaraderie and the friendship and the exercise, and everything else just comes by accident. It'll just come. If you just show up, you're going to become a blue belt, a purple belt, a brown belt, a black belt, right? It's just going to happen so long as you don't quit. And usually the people that quit are the ones that are consistently hurt because they're being more stubborn than they should be. I got some students in mind that I know that are upset because they're always injured, and sometimes they're the ones that I can see on the mat that are not tapping when they should tap. So I just let go of the pressure. That's what I tell my kids too. My kids personally, Ethan and Damien. So just let it go. Just don't worry about it. Ethan doesn't care at all. Damien doesn't care anymore either, right? Now since we built such a powerful community, to them it's like going to their best friend's house. I mean, my kids best friends are the students at the academy too. So, like, if you just let go of any preconceived notions of being good or being bad, and you really let go of the care of that, I think you're gonna really enjoy your process of being in a jiu-jitsu academy. So
Excellent. Well, I appreciate the insight of that. So the next belt is blue belt, correct?
yeah.
So that is, I've watched a couple of blue belt gauntlets, so I have a minuscule understanding of what comes next with the blue belt. Obviously, you know how to shrimp, you know how to break falls, and other stuff like that. What are some of the most important parts of that next level? So you're not just confused, flopping around, or over exaggerating your movements, running around on the floor when you're trying to get out from under somebody.
There's the exception to every rule.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a brown belt, and I can think of this blue belt gentleman who's not from our academy, but he came in one day, and he's a super awesome dude. Hope he comes back. And he beat me, right? But so that aside, there are the freaks of nature out there that are truly exceptional. I'm not truly exceptional, and it's okay. I'm happy with that. I like where I am. But most blue belts just mean you're a good white belt. It literally means if I say, show me an armbar from mount, you can show me an armbar from mount. Show me what a triangle is. It's basically meaning if I tell you the top 10 or 15 moves and ask you to show me what they are, you can show me what they are. And sometimes you hit them while you're sparring. I used to, still at blue belt, my goal was not to win every match. I literally would just look at the clock and be like, okay, I'm not going to let this guy submit me for 30 seconds. I'm not going to let this guy submit me for a minute. I'm not going to let this guy submit me for a round. My defenses improved faster than my offense did. So a good blue belt is just somebody whose defenses are starting to get good because of the repetitive nature of being attacked by higher ranked students. And you have a general understanding of what mount is, what side control is, what a kimura is. So it's just the basic level. I'd call it like, if you're a white belt, you're in that elementary school age. If you're a blue belt, it's kind of like that middle school age. Purple belt's kind of hitting collegiate level. Maybe not. And then black belt's definitely that PhD study. But just blue belt's just a good white belt.
Awesome. All right, and so leading
consistently good white belt, right?
Consistently good white belt. Okay, so because I've watched one of my favorite part about the gauntlets is at first they were doing solo explanation of how to shrimp and everything, and then they started integrating with different partners around the jiu-jitsu studio, and everyone, it was a really small spot, but everyone was packed in there, and all of them raise their hands, volunteer, and help their person through that. It's one of the things that really stood out to me about these gauntlets. Are there gauntlets at Kindred?
Yeah. So what we do is we do a 90-minute sparring session. And in that 90 minutes, it's usually 3-minute rounds with a 1-minute break for the entire 90 minutes. And it's just, for us, we just do sparring, but we do it in a way where it's celebratory. So I'll be rolling with the white belt who's transitioned to blue belt, and I'll leave my arm hanging, and I'm expecting that they're probably going to armbar me. Or I'll leave my arm out with my head extended, and I'm expecting that they're going to triangle me. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they transition to a different move, which is completely acceptable. But it's a 90-minute roll. It's quite exhausting by the time they're done. And within that roll, they get the opportunity. We start with the higher ranked students and work their way down. And they get the opportunity really to showcase the moves they learn. But for us, it's not a test, it's a celebration. Like, by the time Professor Kyle gives you your blue belt, he knows you're of blue belt caliber. So you don't even have to worry about failing. You're there. Let's just celebrate you. Let's have some camaraderie. Let's make you work.
Yeah.
Because at the end, when you have a very big experience, there's a lot of emotions tied behind it, and it feels quite special. And I'll tell you, when I was quite apprehensive when Kyle wanted to do our do the blue belts this way, but I'm a fan of it now. It's really created an emotional event for the academy and for the individual, way more powerful than just having a promotion ceremony and giving somebody their belt.
Mm-hmm.
So,
because it's good to be told, hey, good job,
yeah.
but to showcase everything you learned in real time,
Yeah.
to say I know all these things, to show all these things, and also to take pride, and not necessarily, I shouldn't say pride, but to take confidence in the fact that you've worked over the course of however many years it takes you to achieve a blue belt. I know my buddy just got his down in Texas under Rodrigo and Rafael Formigo and Rodrigo Lopez down there in Texas, and he was just surprised, like, I didn't even know I was gonna get it. Like, I guess they saw something I didn't see. I said, well, and I talked to him about his habits. He was habitually showing up. He was habitually hitting the gym to make sure he was able to do lifts that have to do with supporting your quadriceps muscles and stretching. He was drinking the water. He was running to the gym to train instead of walking or taking a car or Uber or whatever. So
and I'll tell you, for anybody out there who's starting jiu-jitsu and yourself too, you have to cross train. You have to. I was for many years, because I was, quite honestly, lifting weights bores the hell out of me.
Mm-hmm.
I was a weightlifter since I was 18, and I liked going to the gym. Then we had kids, and I got everything I needed at the house. I got an entire gym there, and it just bores the hell out of me. But your body starts to break down over time. You get in your 40s, and you want to spar 5 days a week, but you're not also building your muscular strength. I started having shoulder problems. As soon as I started lifting weights, within a month, those problems start to go away again. Cross training is so important, and trusting in the system. The reason why I don't like testing, Kyle doesn't like testing, and I don't know if his opinion is the same as mine. We haven't talked about it often, but if you trust in the system, your professor is going to give you the rank when you've earned it. You can really let go of that pressure. I mean, I like it. Like, you always feel like you're an imposter at your rank. It doesn't matter whether you're a blue belt, a purple belt, a brown belt. You're like, I'm not there. I hate it. I couldn't believe it. But if you just, I trust in the system. I trust in Professor Kyle. When I'm awarded that rank, I've earned it. I've earned it, and I'm there. And from what I've seen, the students at our academy have never been overwhelmed when we go to competitions from people in their same rank. So it works, right?
I've heard rumors.
Record. We have a good competition record. I've lost plenty and I've won plenty. All of our students have, but nobody's ever embarrassed or outskilled on the mat. So
wow, that's I think that's amazing. I love when a plan comes to fruition. I love it when dreams become reality. I love it when I see someone else succeed. So I know that it's going to be exciting for me the first day, even if I'm getting just completely drugged. I know I'm going to get drugged. The first couple of days are going to be like, oh, who's this guy? He probably thinks he's and they probably I know a couple of guys that are going to be going with me, so we're all going to be there together, and we're just going to get drugged across the mat. And I think it's so interesting and hilarious because I love learning new things. I like being put in a situation where it's impossible to escape, but you still have to try, or you'll never grow.
I think you guys will have a lot of fun. I don't think you'll get the people that come into the gym with a good attitude don't get physically manhandled.
Thank God.
But the fun part is it can become a little cheeky. Mm-hmm. There's plenty of higher ranked students that, like, if you keep pushing on their shoulder, they're gonna, the next time you push, they're gonna arm drag you and take your back and sink in a choke.
Oh yeah.
They'll do it safe. Like, we don't have any dangerous grapplers at our gym, but the cat and mouse game is there, and quite honestly, that's what keeps people coming back to jiu-jitsu, right? Is that cat and mouse game. Every rank there's that you try to outthink and outwit, and sometimes you end up getting suckered into something. It just happened. I mean, it happens to me every time I roll. Like, lower rank students do it to me too, and it just puts a big smile on your face. You're like, you son of a bitch. You got me.
I love it.
And it's fun. I love it. It's a game. It's all a game. Go in there with the aspect that it's a game to play. It's no different than playing checkers or anything else. You're just trying to have fun and have that brotherly camaraderie, or that family camaraderie. Mm-hmm. It's incredible. You guys will all like it.
Awesome. Well, I'm definitely excited. So what's the next thing I need to know about going from blue belt to the next level?
So if blue belt is you're starting to understand what the moves are and you can do it in a static environment, purple belt is definitely where you start to learn how to hit submissions well in the roll. And I would say it's for me, my purple belt was where I started developing attack sequences. So if the first attack didn't work, then I could follow it up with a second attack. The farthest I probably got in purple belt is like maybe I could think three moves down the road. So it's really where you begin to become efficient at your submissions. Keeping in mind, I think at blue belt you're already good at defense. So purple belt is really where you start becoming efficient at your attacking and you start creating chains of attack. So if your armbar doesn't work, you have a plan of, okay, maybe I can get a triangle from here. If the armbar doesn't work, but they're lazy with their wrist, maybe we can get a wrist lock. And those kind of cheeky moves are always fun, right? I still get caught in wrist locks all the time. I get lazy with my wrists, and even a white belt will get me. It's fun, right? But you start chaining your submissions together and your escape sequences, right? You can start, instead of just being, okay, I'm out, now what? At purple belt, you start maybe escaping, but you keep your grip. So when you're out, you're in a scenario where you can get a head and arm choke. So it's definitely the having more than one thing. You start building your flow charts mentally or physically. You start being able to react progressively instead of statically, if that makes sense. So like what I mean is, instead of just doing a trap and roll and then looking at your partner going, okay, I escaped mount, now what? You're like, okay, you do a trap and roll to a knee slice, you get the underhook right away. Or you do a trap and roll to a knee slice and you can't get the underhook, they leave the near side up, so you get a head and arm choke. You start being able to think in groups of 3, for me at least.
Okay.
So.
And now the next level.
Yeah, brown belt.
Now it's getting really, really shitty, right?
Well, I'll tell you when. So imposter syndrome hit me hard at brown belt. Hard, like, and
not just with the poop emojis, right?
No,
because I've seen them all over. I've seen them everywhere.
So the brown belt's got its problems. For one, I'm gonna say it's a crappy color. There's my first dad joke. I hope everybody loves it. But like, at blue belt, man, everything I had was blue. Purple belt, I liked wearing purple belt. I made it a masculine color. I'm like, hell yeah, I don't purple belt. Yeah. At brown belt, I stopped. I don't want to wear brown clothes, right? I think at brown belt, you're starting to come into your jiu-jitsu identity. So jiu-jitsu's really become ingrained into who you are, off the mat too. So that's where that confidence is finally there. That's where purple belt even, I started making eye contact when I talk to people. We were talking earlier, you can go to a wedding and even though you're a white guy who can't dance, you can shake it on the floor and you don't really, you start being comfortable with who you are. But at brown belt, you really figure out your identity. So that's where I'm at. I think I'm trying to determine my jiu-jitsu identity, so it's become more of, I can chain techniques together all day now. I get compliments all the time about how I'm every time somebody moves, I'm attacking. And what I've done is I've created my defense is enough to where I'm progressively defending myself. So anytime I'm escaping, at the exact same time, I'm also setting up a submission or a threat of a submission or a trap that I hope you counter on so that way I can fully escape. But it's given me the opportunity to decide, who is Jeff? What do I like most about jiu-jitsu? For me, I'll tell you, I'm a gift wrap guy. My whole goal in jiu-jitsu now is to get to a gift wrap, which is, I got a grip on your wrist with both hands, usually your arms wrapped around your head, and that's my starting point. So if I get there, the world is it's the world's my oyster. Like I got different submission chains based off of your reactions. So I decided that was going to be me. I'm going to be a head and arm guy.
So keep my hands to myself.
Yeah, you really start to become a specialist.
Yeah.
And probably by the time you're black belt, and I don't know this yet, obviously, I'm gonna change my mind, and I'm gonna think, okay, what was he thinking at brown belt? But I do believe that's where your identity comes in on the mat, especially. So I've figured out where I want to be with myself. I'm developing the confidence, right? I've been a brown belt for 2 years now. So I'm just now kind of settling into it, and I can tell people without grimacing that I'm a brown belt. And I found the positions that I'm efficient at. And so now that I know that I'm efficient in these positions, it's how can I get there? So everything leads me to gift wrap now. So whether I'm in mount or I'm on mount or side control, anywhere, it's my whole path leads to getting that arm across your body so I can get my entire body wrapped around that top quarter of your body. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of my identity on the mat. That's what I'm striving for. So I think that's what a brown belt would be, somebody who's efficient in their escapes and their attacks. Not only can they chain something together, but they've made a conscious decision of what they want to become an expert in, and they start self-studying. Self-study usually probably starts at purple belt efficiently, when you should be watching the YouTube videos, where you should be out learning on your own away from your professor, probably begins at purple belt. But at brown belt, it's really that independent study. I got to find the things that I'm interested in, because otherwise, if I go to the academy, I'm seeing the same stuff, because we got to bring up a whole community of people. So we're still teaching arm bars, triangles, Kasoto hooks. The stuff that I'm seeing on a weekly basis is something that I've probably seen before, but I have to find a way to benefit from it. So I got to think about, how does it get me to where I want to be? So that frame of thinking is definitely where I'm at brown belt.
Excellent. Well, that's a very detailed breakdown. It's exactly what I was hoping to get. I've never been able to see the differences. It's not something you can really see. It's something that has to be spoken.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I can watch a million videos. I love watching videos of people practicing the immense different categories. There's so many different avenues and facets and styles, traps you can set, things that people don't fall for. And then I look on some people who are rolling, look on their face when the traps don't work. Yeah. And some people are really, really good about the facial expressions and hiding it with the poker face. Others, they crack me up when they find out traps and stuff don't work. And
well, I tell my kids, because I can see the looks on their face when I'm coming in and I'm showing an arm bar again. Mm-hmm. And I could literally go an entire year and show my kids something new every single week, but they're not going to become efficient at anything. So when they get mad that I'm showing an arm bar because I have, yellow belts, gray belts, orange belts on Saturday, they're like, I've seen this again. I'm like, well, you have to find a way to make it interesting for yourself. You really do. So if you can create a scenario to where you're always eagerly learning information, you're going to have a long road in jiu-jitsu, right? At white belt, like we're talking about, it's learning moves, and you're going to learn quickly. Once people progress past white belt, it's not about those static moves anymore. Every time I go to class, I'm learning something new, or I'm seeing something new. Some of these people I've been training with for 8 years, I've probably had hundreds of rolls with, but every time you roll, it's different, because nobody ever moves the same. As we get better, we move differently. But even on a given roll, some guys I'll roll with, 6 or 7 times in a day. Instead of moving to the right, they move to the left. Instead of framing with their arm, they try to sneak their knee in. Instead of putting their hand on my shoulder, they're pushing on my jaw. Like there's so much fluidity in jiu-jitsu. Nothing is ever the same. You start recognizing traps, you start recognizing bad behavior, but really the rolls are never so similar that I've ever found myself being bored in jiu-jitsu. So if people can go in with that mindset and look for the new things and realize how unique and different every single day is, I think that's the way that people are going to, I think that's why people train for 20, 30, 40 years, and they can keep that, that student mindset that black belts and everybody always talks about. You always got to be a student. I think if you learn, you create a habit in yourself to where you're seeing something new every day, or, at least that gives you that emotion of seeing something new. I think that's what's going to keep you going for the long haul.
So something you brought up a lot, Kindred Jiu-Jitsu is about community. That's something I keep hearing. I've ran into the front desk lady when I got injured at work. She goes to Kindred, at right down the street at Concentra.
Yeah.
I'll run into people who have heard about it, who've always wanted to go there because they heard it's great. And I'll run into people who do attend the classes at Kindred and you just go there on open mat on Saturday, I believe. So what is it that really, you probably know better than me, obviously. What is it that stands out about Kindred Jiu-Jitsu, the community, what the camaraderie? What is it that really, really drives it home for you?
Man, I don't want, so I'll say that at Kindred Jiu-Jitsu, our community is everything I could ever want from a community of individuals. I don't want to say it's unique to Kindred. I say that, we're very good at it, but the Jiu-Jitsu community overall is amazing from that aspect. I really do feel like, at least from our experience and the people outside of Kindred, it's like jiu-jitsu in general has brought a lot of people together. And inside our academy and outside, I've been consistently and regularly blown away with the attitude and the care of people that we meet. Right, our school, communities are priority, right? And it's just something that we've cultivated. My wife being from Guam and being from, she's from, I'd say ethnically she's Filipino, culturally she's Guamanian. So she's got the Asian and island influence strong in her life, and that community vibe matches what we have at Kindred, and that's what's really drawn everybody together. And just, it's helped in so many aspects of our life. Right, you go there and you feel like you're around your brothers and your sisters. It's just been it's amazing. It's created environments where, like, you can reach out to your friends. As an example, I have like really, really bad insomnia. And I don't know what came first, the insomnia or the anxiety or the depression, anxiety, whatever, right? But what I found is, like, I opened myself up to some people that by happenstance said, hey, like, one of my best friends at the academy, I saw a tattoo on his hand. And I didn't realize it was a tattoo that represents mental health. But once I was like, hey, hey man, what's that tattoo? And he's like, it's a tattoo that recognizes, mental health struggles. And, I got people in my family, including myself, that have mental health problems. And that was, for me at the time, it's just something that clicked in my brain, and it just registered. I'm like, man, this is really cool. This guy's opening up to me. And then I started having my own problems. I've dealt with insomnia for probably 15 years, but it cascaded into, like I said, anxiety and depression over the last 5. And I was like, God, I need, my wife's amazing and she's everything, and she's my biggest supporter, and I wouldn't make it without her. But I needed to verbalize my mental health issues to somebody else that has been through it. So I just went up to him and I was like, hey man, can we talk? Like, I'm having these struggles. Like, what's it like from your experience? Because what I needed somebody who's been there to say, I know what you're going through. I've felt it, so I can truly empathize. And this is my opinion.
Perspective and experience.
Yeah, perspective and experience. My wife Jenny will do anything for me. She will carry me up the mountain if she has to. But what I needed was an understanding from somebody who's been through it, that can say, you can get through this. There was another, community. We were having a community event at Kindred, and this absolutely wonderful person I happened to mention, hey, I struggle with anxiety and depression, and I think it's all because of my insomnia. And it's just a cascading effect from being sleep deprived, from getting, literally 2 or 3 hours of sleep a night, struggling for years. And she goes, there's this app that I use. And not only do I use this app, I'm going to pay for it for you for the first year if you like it.
Wow.
So she gifted it to me. And it was the first time I've ever really experienced somebody like, I mean, obviously I've received gifts.
Yeah.
But this was like an emotional help kind of thing. So she gifted it to me. I use it all the time now, and it's helped incredibly. Mm-hmm. But if I wouldn't have had this community of people that I feel comfortable with, and how do you develop that community? We've developed it through sharing a common love for jiu-jitsu, right? Mm-hmm. That brought us all together, which by happenstance created these conversations, which allowed me to get, very personal help that I needed, right? I needed just other people to say, I understand what you're going through because I've been there, and you're going to be fine. And within time, you will be one of these people who then can reciprocate the attention to others. And I have, right? I still, I'm still seeing my team. I created my team of, my friends at the academy. I got a group of about 3 or 4 guys now, including Kyle, that when I'm in a bad spot, I'm like, hey man, I'm struggling today. And all they say is, I understand, I'm here for you. And that's all you need, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not looking for a solution. I got to find that on my own, and I'm doing, damn good for it. But you just need that empathy coming sometimes from outside of your household. And I think community is the best way to do it. And I've seen it. We got multiple people at Kindred that we all team together and work with each other for issues on and off the mat. They're not always mental issues. Sometimes you need help. I mean, as simple as you need help moving, right? But creating that community is probably the most valuable thing that I can give and receive through what jiu-jitsu has given me. For some people, it's church, right? There's other ways to get community. Some people, it's just their friends. My wife's incredibly lucky. Like all of her friends, or all of her family and friends from Guam, most of them have moved to the States. So she's got people here in Washington that she's known her whole life.
Wow.
So community is just, so she has that community too. And it's really, this community, I wouldn't even know how to say it. This
family, almost.
Family. I mean, it is a family, right? And it's, in some ways it is. I mean, it's wholeheartedly, absolutely the definition of family, right? I'm sure there's some slogan out there, the family you choose, the family you're born with.
You create.
I was lucky that I have, with my mom and my dad and my brothers, I got a solid family of individuals, but they're not local. I don't see them often. With Kindred, there's these people that are like, check up on me on a regular basis. Like I can go in on a class on Monday, and I got people going, hey Jeff, how you doing today? And then there's people that I go, hey, how are you doing today? Mm-hmm. So we all can lift each other up and carry each other. And for me, it's jiu-jitsu that's created that avenue. That's, as cliche as it is, I think everybody who's high ranked in jiu-jitsu's got a story about how jiu-jitsu's like saved their lives. I won't say jiu-jitsu saved my life, because I would be here without it. But it's given me an avenue of support, and it's created opportunities for me to support others that clearly I wouldn't have without Kindred.
Hell yeah, brother. And that directly can be said about the
different peer support groups out there that are there for veterans, right? So something that I've been working on a lot lately is like I have a summit tomorrow. I'm going to meet with the Pierce County Coalition of Veteran Support Systems, right? So I'm meeting with Nine Line, Wounded Warrior Project, and all them to talk about how we can work together to help veterans with mental health, with career issues, with not having a house, with not knowing where to start. You know, a lot of people get out of the military and they don't have an avenue. A lot of us finish doing one aspect of life at all, even in the civilian world, and not have an avenue, not know where to go. Being lost and feeling like you're someone without purpose can drive you almost insane. It really can. I've had definitely issues with insomnia, and my insomnia seems to disappear when I have a purpose, when I have a task, when I have something I'm working towards. And as long as I get 1% better, I'm able to, put that check in the box. But me having the peer-to-peer support through merging veterans and players has been great for me, because I'm able to have somebody hit me up, like my boy Sean Stokes. He hits me up almost every day. Hey brother, how you doing, man? And I hit him. It's some guy from the Army. The Army hates the Navy, but we click. Well, we click because it's just us. And I reach out to him and ask him how he is, and Jason Jarman, Elliot Gaskins, Cody, all these different branches. We all have this family that we've created now that we're back here. We don't have the same units. We don't have the same people who we create these great bonds with. Mm-hmm. We're not this spider web of military human beings who are all connected at every single end of each little string of spider web. But we are all connected with the fact that we all care about each other. Yeah. And that's something that I see with how you describe.
And you have experiences that you can relate to.
Yeah.
I would say so. My dad was my dad was a drill sergeant in the Army. And I don't think he would ever talk about his mental health. Mm-hmm. I mean, still, I bet you he would tell you that he's the baddest motherfucker on the block, and his mind is, unbreakable. But I really think, and maybe it is for him. Maybe he's in such a positive mental state that he can pull that off. But I certainly was not.
Yeah.
And I wish people would understand earlier that if you just shared with people that you care about, or people that you get that feeling that they may have been through a similar experience, if you just literally said, I'm not okay, mm-hmm. and I want to talk about it, I think that would make people's lives so much more, I can't say enjoyable, because when you're going through your living hell, you're not having a good time, but that energy changes, and you can build community with people who've had similar experiences, and you can feel the positive energy and love from it that will pull you through your deepest holes.
Absolutely. Then that's definitely true. I find myself having conversations with guys who've been blown up multiple times in Iraq, gushing blood, got patched up, and wanted to go back out with their team because they felt like they had a good bond with them. Not because it was safe, not because it was great, but because they have a good bond.
Yeah.
And having a great bond with other human beings is something so powerful. And when you spend time,
I would walk through hell with somebody who's been there with me sooner than I would sit in heaven and ruminate over my mental health issues by myself.
100%, man. And I think that's really not just beautiful, but it's awesome that you're able to find that. I think that any form of fitness is going to bring dopamine rises, hopefully, to people who don't have a serious issue with their brain, obviously. But looking at something like martial arts, where it's really challenging you, and you're leveling up every day, and you feel like some days you do great, but some days you don't, but you're constantly improving. You don't have options, like you said. You don't become good as a white belt. You just kind of don't suck, And I think there's something that can be said about going through challenges with a group of people and developing that bond, that similarity with other people.
There's
no matter
a lot
what
of
level
correlation with martial arts, like just the, a phrase that my father gave me, the whole suck it up buttercup mentality, right? Like sometimes you just got to drag your knuckles through the glass, and you just put one step in front of the other. And there's correlations to, martial arts where you just got to show up and put the work in. But there's also the opportunity to bring people together from different environments, the emo guys, the police officers, the jocks, the techie nerd dads that have been in the tech industry for 20 years, and like, but you start finding similarities between these demographics of people, these commonalities, that you start realizing you guys are more similar than different, right? And through jujitsu, through Kindred, because that's just my gym, right? The community that I've been involved with, I found these people that have these similar emotions that I do, these similar life experiences that aren't necessarily, that I wouldn't have known otherwise, because they're in a completely different life experience demographic. I'm 40, turning 45 at the end of this month. There's 20 mid 20-year-old people at the academy that are going through similar mental health struggles. So outside of the gym, I would never have come across some 25-year-old who is dealing with a depressive episode or having a anxiety disorder that creates panic attacks, right? My first panic attack was the scariest thing I ever lived through.
Oh yeah.
Literally thought I was having a heart attack. If it wasn't for my wife, I probably would have called 911 and gone in the ambulance only to get to the emergency room for them to tell me it's no big deal, right? The medical system doesn't do a really good job of helping you through these things, right? I learned through Kindred the difference between psychiatry and psychology. I didn't know this. The gentleman I was referencing earlier that had the tattoo that signified mental health, he's the one that was like, hey, maybe you need to get with a psychiatrist for, maybe you need to medicate for a little bit. And, then you get with your psychologist for your talk therapy. You start learning these things through life experiences that others have shared that maybe isn't common to, or you wouldn't know through the demographic of people that you normally hang out with. I typically wouldn't hang out with a 70-year-old dude, who retired from a big corporation. He's helped me quite a bit. He's come to me with his own mental health issues. It's like you start creating, or you start falling into these common experiences where you can help each other. And I think that's, for me, is the most special thing about what we have at Kindred, which, again, we have it very strong at Kindred, but I've noticed it throughout the jiu-jitsu community as a whole. There's a commonality there, right? Most of us want to lift each other up, regardless if we're in our 20s or in our 40s, whether we're a tech jockey or whether we're a collegiate wrestler, and it's really an incredible thing that I couldn't be more proud of.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm super happy for you. If there was one thing you would say to somebody who's just thinking about getting, still on the fence about getting into jiu-jitsu, I don't know, it seems really hard. Do I really want to get embarrassed in front of all these people? What would you say?
So, like, social media is a big one where you see this a lot. There's should I get in shape before I start jiu-jitsu? Should I, lose weight? Do I need to get stronger? Maybe I'll start it in the summer. But truth be told, if you don't begin now, you're always going to create an excuse. I'll tell people all the time. And my twin brother, who's a blue belt now, very proud of him, I tell him all the time, it's like it's a very coach thing to say. You either make excuses to do something or you make excuses not to do something. That's it. You know what I mean? So if you're interested in doing anything, do it. Do it now. Do it today. Sign up to your jiu-jitsu class, take your drawing class, register for that class that you're interested in college that has nothing to do with your career. Just do it, because if you're not doing it, you're not doing it. If you're doing it, you're doing it, right? So you got to decide to pull the trigger at some point. And if you don't decide to pull the trigger now, you're going to come up with another excuse why not to do it tomorrow.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate your insight. I love the things you gain from not just Kindred, but also, you know, going through your own jiu-jitsu experience as well. Everybody's journey has so many different ups and downs, a lot of different times where you're about to pass out. And I think it's so great that your journey has helped you in ways outside of just your ability to put someone to sleep or fold some clothes with people in them.
Jiu-jitsu's made me the person that I am. It really has. I mean, it's been 8 years already, but it's really become ingrained in, it just becomes your identity. You don't train jiu-jitsu. I mean, it's gonna sound stupid, but you are jiu-jitsu, right? You're part of the community. You've trained it so long, it's second nature. It's just who you are, right? And there's been so many positive benefits from it. Me personally, for my family, for my students who get bullied, who no longer get bullied because they've been able to stand up to the bully. The self-confidence that my sons have earned just from understanding that they're safe when they walk in a room most of the time, right? There's always exceptions to every rules, but it becomes ingrained into who you are. So you just show up, just train. You're going to reap the benefits of it. You can't not unless you quit.
100%, brother. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. And thank you, everyone else, for listening. If you have ever thought about starting your jiu-jitsu journey, now's the time. It's Jiu-Jitsu January. Do not miss this opportunity to start something that sounds good, because obviously I came up with it, so it has to sound great. Jiu-Jitsu January is something that I've been wanting to do since I got told it would take me about 7 months to rehab and to even be able to do push-ups after my injury with my shoulder where I tore everything in it. And thankfully, I'm able to get back to it. And I hope to see you talking on the Facebook page about starting your jiu-jitsu journey. I want to hear did this change your perspective? Do you like some of the things he said? Do you disagree with the transition from a white belt to a blue belt? I want to hear what you have to say. This is meant to be a conversation starter and a conversation builder as well. I want to hear about your journey. Please do reach out to me. I would love to hear what things you benefit from. I think jiu-jitsu can be a lesson for everybody. I don't think it's for everybody. Like, that's something that me and Kyle have talked about previously, and Jeff spoke about a little bit about today. It can have something for everybody. And if you can take anything away from this conversation, it's what I took away is right now is the time. Right now is the time. Do not hesitate. Life will pass you by in a second. I waited if I started jiu-jitsu 2 days sooner, I probably wouldn't have ever tore my shoulder. So I got to be honest. I cannot wait to start this Saturday at Kindred. And thank you all for listening to another episode of the Deep End Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Eddie. Please do reach out.